Okay, I have been meaning to do a video on my barbacoa and I started videoing too late, but let me just tell you what's been done. These are chuck roasts. I got them at Costco. You can get them anywhere. I used Cholula hot sauce as a binder, which means I covered the chuck roast with with the Cholula everywhere, and then I covered it with Tajin, Tajin, Mexican flavoring spice. And so all I'm going to do, I've got my grill on 250, a little bit below 250 now. It'll get up to it. I'm going to put these on indirect heat. So I've got my little indirect heat thing set up, but however you do indirect heat. And I'm going to put them on there and leave them for 3 hours and not do a thing. Here we go. They are on. Once I shut this lid, I will not open it for another 3 hours. Okay, so this is going to be the next step. I have a 5-quart Lodge Dutch oven. I wish I had a 7-quart one, which I'm going to get, because it's going to be it's going to be a tight squeeze, but I'll make it happen for both of these things. But I'm going to put the it's almost ready. I'm going to put the let's see what those look like now. Put the meat into the Dutch oven, and then I'm going to pour a whole thing of salsa in it. And actually, this is what I always do: is I take the paste mild chunky salsa, run it through a blender, and use that for my salsa, just whether it's with chips or otherwise. So that's been done already. And then one beer, a lager, not like a something that's really hoppy. So I just use Budweiser. And then about a half a jar of jalapenos with the sauce and the jalapenos. And then we'll pour it in that. Put the chuck roast in the oven, or in the Dutch oven, put it in that, put the lid on it, put it back on the indirect heat, and then let it go for another 3 hours. Don't touch it, don't look at it. Obviously I'm doing this on the grill. You can find a way to do this in the oven if you don't have a grill. Okay, now I've got these handy gloves that I use, and it's also going to be good for tearing it up. If you don't have gloves like this, you can just use a fork or whatever. But anyway, I'm gonna pick up these, and you can see how it's already, nice and juicy and everything. I'm gonna pick this up, put it in the Dutch oven, pick up the other one, put it in the Dutch oven. And these are 2 small ones that I got from Costco. You could get a bigger, maybe 4-pound one that from a grocery store, and that'll be it. That'll be all you need. So I put those in here. I'm going to pour the salsa. Again, you can see how this was blended. Pour the salsa all over it. What? Okay. Pour the beer in there. Excuse me. Okay. And I'll make sure I pronounce this right for Will. Pour in the jalapenos. Okay, and the sauce in there. Okay, and we're going to make sure that this gets mixed up. Because I've got 2 in here, I will probably come out later to make sure that they're switched up. But anyway, this is gonna just cook in this for 3 hours. Okay, I'm gonna put the lid back on it. I'm gonna put it back on the indirect heat. Okay, and then I'm gonna shut it. Now again, I'll come back in about 1.5 hours or whatever and flip them to make sure everything's being covered. But that's all you do. Again, you can do this in the oven. I'm doing it on the grill. The temperature will be at 250 again. Just let it go for 2.5 hours. Okay, I wish I had smell-o-vision because this smells great. Now, normally I wouldn't do this if I had a bigger Dutch oven, or if I had, room where I didn't have this sticking up. here, but I'm just gonna flip this one, make sure it's all being covered as much as I can get it in this sauce. And I wanna make sure it's in there as much as possible. But we got about another hour and a half or more to go, but it is looking and smelling pretty good. Okay, the second 3 hours is now up, but I'm not just gonna, you don't just take it off the heat until you've made sure that it is, you can call it probe tender, which means you could take a temperature probe and stick it in there, and with like very little to no resistance. You can use a fork, make sure it's fork tender, and then even at that, and it seems like it is, I'm probably going to leave it on the heat maybe another 15 minutes, and then after that I take it off the heat. And like I said, this is just, I don't do a temperature probe, I just go to see what it feels like. Even after that, after I take it off the heat, I'm going to leave it in there just to stew for another 30 minutes. But we're going to take another 15 minutes and then take it off the heat. So you can see, how it's been shredded, and like if I just take my, and there you can see how it just shreds apart. And this is how you want it to look and to be. And then this will go in either your birria tacos or your taquitos, which we'll show you next. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do a birria taco. I'm going to just do one for the video, and I'm doing this inside. I usually do it outside on the grill, but just to show that you can do these inside. The first thing you do is you take this tortilla, and you actually dip it in the juice. Okay, so you're going to push it in there so it gets all that juice on it. Okay, and then you're going to put it in your skillet. Then I'll show you. You're going to put some of this in there. We're going to add some cheese and just let it cook like that. So you can see I put some of the beef on it, some of the barbacoa on it. I put some Mexican cheese on it. And I'm just going to shut this up. I would normally do this with my hands, but I'm going to have to do that with my hands, so hold on. So you shut it up like that. Okay, and then we're going to let that melt. We'll flip it halfway through till it gets really crusty, and then you're good to go. Sprinkle a little cilantro on it if you want, and you are good to go. Okay, we're ready to go. I don't know if you can hear this above the sizzling, but you can see it's got a little, it's a little crusty there. So it's ready to go. And we just, again, you can do 2 or 3 of these at a time, or if you got a big griddle, you can do even more. Put that on the plate. Want a little presentation. I'm doing this one-handed. You take a little cilantro. That was a little bit too much right there, but you take a little cilantro and sprinkle it. And I'll show you a picture of how this is supposed to look when it's not done one-handed. But there's your birria taco. If you don't want the cilantro, don't put it on. Okay, normally I may not do it this way, but I've just kind of showing you. I'm going to do like 5 taquitos here. And what I've done is I've used the street tacos, which are the smaller taco shells. Put some barbacoa in it, put some cheese in it. Then I'm going to roll them up and put the seam. Try to do this one with one hand. Okay, so you can see I'm going to roll it up, and I'll do it tighter. Then I'll put this seam that you see here. I'm going to put it face down in a skillet with a little bit of cooking oil. And you'll see what happens next. But I'll do that to all of them. You can see that I've got the seam a little bit tighter than what I was doing with one hand. And then I'm just gonna put it seam down into this oil, and then we'll show you the next. Okay, I maybe could have used a bigger skillet to do 5 in, but I've got this in the smaller skillet. But you can see I've got them in there. It's seamed down. And the reason you do it seam down is obviously it secures that seam, and then we'll flip them over to get them fully cooked. You could also do this in an air fryer, likely, if you didn't want to use the cooking oil. But this is the first step, the taquitos, and we'll show you the final step. You can see that I've flipped them now, and the seam here is, you know, kind of locked in. Okay, and so I'm going to get the top of it cooked, and once that's done, maybe flip them a couple more times, and then they'll be ready to decorate. What I'm going to do to decorate, you'll see, I've got a little crema, okay, and I'll spray that, or put that on it. And then I'm going to put some salsa on it. Now, the reason I've done this is just because I'm getting silly and fancy, and I'm going to cut the corner of it just for look purposes, but you can just pour a little bit of salsa over it and you'll be done. Okay, so I'm just going to take a little crema and drizzle it. And then I have cut, I don't know if you can see this, but I've cut a little hole in the corner of this Ziploc bag, and I'm going to just squeeze the salsa through that corner and make a design as well. Okay, so my fancy salsa thing didn't turn out picture worthy, but no worries. But here's what I wanted to say in my last thing, and I'm gonna attach a picture of a platter of taquitos and biria tacos at the end of this video, but this will freeze. So when we get done with everything tonight, I'm gonna put the remainder in a freezer bag, and you can freeze it and then just put it in a bowl, heat it up, and you're ready to go. It doesn't have to be done that day. It freezes and it tastes just as good as the day that you made it, like today. So hope you guys will try this, enjoy it, and I think you'll find it well worth the try.